Live from the Scruffy Womp Rat Cantina, this is Under the Twin Suns.
Welcome back to Surprise Saturday, or Saturday Surprise, whatever you like to say. This is our tier list where we talk about the set leaders, or the leaders for each set for Twin Suns. It's me, Cole. I'm joined by Jonathan, Chris, Steve, and Ruben, as always. And we're going to talk about set 3 today. So, Nala Say, let's just jump right into it. Listen, I don't think she's awful, but I don't think she's great. So she's a 4 flip, but you really shouldn't flip her at 4. You should bring her out later because you want that restore later in the game. I'm somewhere in this, and it's also fun to have the villain package and access to all the clones, but it's limited what they give you access to. You can get Wrecker and Tech on the hero side. I'm going to put her in meme time for now, and I want to hear what everybody else thinks. Jonathan, what are your initial thoughts of the clone engineer Nala Say?
My initial thoughts is bumping her up to B. I feel like there's enough cards with clone that it's doable. Like, you're not straining. Although, I think I still haven't had my mind switch over to an 80 card deck. It might be less viable with the next set. But currently, I think she's B for me.
Chris?
I would leave her at C because I do think that going to 80 cards will hinder the clone unit capability of her ability, especially when you take into consideration the fact that we're looking for space units. And I could be corrected here, but I really don't think that there were a lot of clone units added in the new set coming out. I think I saw one. I don't think I saw a lot besides the one clone unit added in the next set. So
What's
I
the
think
one? I didn't think there were any.
There was one.
Okay.
No, there's at least one. Yeah.
But well, I'll find it. Sorry.
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
It was just a pretty simple, like, you know.
And Chris brings up a really good point that we should remember for this video. Jump to Lightspeed, when this video releases, is 1 week away. So we're just going to assume the 80 card deck. We're just going to assume the JTL being included in this. So that, and I know we talked a little bit about it last week, but this week, like, JTL is to be the fourth thought. Like, we should be always thinking about that set going forward. Sorry, Ruben. Time for you to talk.
Yeah, I like B. Goals to have fun with this because it ignores the aspect penalty of clone units. So even though that there are limited, you can play all of them. So that's one of the highlights that I think of this of Nala Say is, and when she's flipped, she's 1/7 for 4. Not, I mean, you're not going to be swinging with Nala Say as much, but once you start putting some upgrades on her, she could get dangerous quick. And all of your friendly clone units gain when defeated, heal 2 damage from your base. Could be huge, especially if you time the flip on her. But I just think that running a, like, you know, for those players who used to play Magic, it's like a tribal deck where you play a certain type of theme, and this trait would be running clones and, you know, get to do all the fun stuff. So I like the fact that you can have just put whatever clones in there. Yeah, I'll throw a Wrecker out there. Wrecker's a clone, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I really like the fun factor of Nala Say, so I would rate her as a B for me.
Steve, you want to solidify us in one camp or the other?
Well, I kind of want to be the Debbie Downer here and put her at C for me. We have enough support for enough clones. Like, you can make a 50 card Twin Suns deck that has all clones in it, but I don't think it's very good. Like, there's a few clones that are incredible,
Yeah.
but I don't think there's enough clones to make it, like, really good. And I mean, without that, then she's basically just a, like, I'm not a fan of like the no aspect cost, but then you have no units that really take advantage of it. Later on, when the game is more established and we have more sets and we get more clones, I think she probably will be a lot better.
But you're just trying to have fun with Nala Say. You're not trying to win with Nala Say.
Right, but so we should also remember that we have those notes there, but we should just also think about like S, A, B, C, D, like what from a strictly tier perspective as well.
Yeah, because
Oh
I think
yeah,
every
I
demo
know.
build is
I
the
like
goal is to have fun.
Steve. We know, Steve. We know that you're
It's
out there
all
to
about
correct us.
fun.
Oh, I'm
Um,
Steve. I think
no,
everybody should
no,
have fun. Blah, 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 blah. No, I'm sorry.
no.
Ruben.
But the biggest part about making her, the fact that B for me is the fact that she has an ability that you get to heal your base from with anyone that dies, and that's a pretty big impact to the game when you can actually heal
Yeah,
yourself.
that is helpful.
So that's where I think it could be competitive, and guess it's running my favorite aspects, villainy, and vigilance, and you could put some removal in your deck. So to me, I think it's a viable strategy with running your clones, especially when you can use Wrecker. That's pretty fun.
Yeah, you know what? I'm with Ruben. Let's keep it in B for now because Blue Villainy is such a good package, and we'll see where everything else winds up. Because as always, like we reevaluate as we go through. Like, oh, is this
Yeah.
really equal? All right, Gunray. Jonathan has really proved the potential behind this guy. I don't think any of us think he's S. I definitely think. Okay, and let me explain. And no, he's above. Let me explain why. I think if he's paired up with Dooku, he's an A, Jonathan. I think if he's paired up or just looked at alone without too many other like if he wasn't paired with another separatist, I think he'd be B, if that makes sense.
Nah, I totally agree. And to add on to that, I'd say maybe also Grievous.
Yeah,
But
that'd be another good one. Sorry.
I'd say he might top out at the bottom of A, but I'm good to have him in B. Because a standalone, you're not really doing much with a 1/1.
Chris?
Yeah, I think it really depends on how you put your deck together. Really had to watch that word there.
Little Freudian slip.
Really, if you're not using a lot of exploit cards here, I just don't think you're going to get a lot out of him. And that's why he pairs so good with certain leaders, in my opinion. Otherwise, I worry when he's standalone, and if you put him with the wrong leader and you don't have the right cards, um, he can actually, in my opinion, fall under B even. So I really think it just depends on what package you put together with him. But I'm good with him at B.
Ruben?
Yeah, the fact that we're getting more tokens in the next set means that there's a lot more options. So you're getting, TIE fighters, or, it's there's more ways to get more tokens out there. And we've seen some cards that have a lot of a potential to get more tokens out. So I think for me, I believe I would say more B. It depends on how you pair them, how you pair Newt with, but it definitely is more of a support leader at this moment for me,
Mhm.
not something that stands alone. So I would say probably low B and maybe high C for me.
Yeah, I can get behind that as well. Low B, high C. The fact that he doesn't like Dooku requires you to play separatists. This guy just requires two things to die, and he'll just give you a token. So he can kind of fit in, like what Ruben was saying, with all the tokens that are coming out. People are going to have to deal with those tokens, and this is also like a pass, a soft pass kind of option as well. You can flip him, and when he attacks, he gives you some value. So I feel B.
I still have PTSD from the super laser blast, and then Jonathan somehow recovered and had a tank. So that's why I'm keeping him in B, because that scared me. All right. I think Obi-Wan A, because the healing is a bargaining chip. We have seen Ruben use it super effectively. He's a Jedi and a Sentinel when he flips. So if you get a lightsaber on him, or you get like resilient or something that just makes him stronger, he's just chilling. and he's just a solid all-around character and leader. It's like Iden, but you don't need something to die, and you can help your friends too. I think he's an A. Jonathan?
I would honestly bump him to S. I think
Ooh.
for the reasons you said, Sentinel being one of the strongest keywords, healing just being good, and on the flip side, being able to ping something else. With that 6 cost, so it's usually coming out towards late game. He's a big enough body to protect you. In my eyes, definitely an S. At least candidate.
I can get down with the candidacy. Chris?
I'm good with him staying at A. I really like his heal on both sides. Actually, you can keep try and keep the damage off your low units even before you flip him. But then when you do flip him, that on attack can really help. Then when you start adding upgrades on him, I mean, he can become a beast not only for attacking, but then if anyone wants to attack you, they've got to go through him, and that can pretty much wipe any unit that comes wants to come through him. So that can really halt progression from any of your opponents that want to try and do any damage to you. So I'm good with leaving him at A.
Ruben?
I'm going S, and not because I play Obi-Wan in Twin Suns, but I just think that, again, one of the biggest things for me is I look at the cost and the hit points and power. 6 for 4/7, and it's got Sentinel. This guy is a finisher. He finishes games. He could literally win you a game.
Yeah.
And the thing that look at the traits: Force, Jedi, Republic. There's so much synergy with that. Putting a lightsaber on him, putting Forces with me on him. Just anything that says Jedi related just gets stronger. And he is a leader that could be the main leader of your two leaders that you have. And I really like Obi-Wan. I think he can finish a game and win it for you outright. So I would say S, because I just think he's that strong with everything he can do.
Yeah, Ruben pretty much just said everything I was going to say. Like, yeah, S tier. Like, Sentinel's the best keyword to have in Twin Suns. He is a straight brick wall when you flip him turn 6 when everybody's trying to close the game out, and then all of a sudden, boom! I have a 4/7 Sentinel that I didn't have to pay for. Good luck getting through it. And like the whole game, he's just soft passing, basically, healing or whatever, dirtling. But he does everything you want to do for a leader in Twin Suns.
I've been swayed. I think he's our first S. Alright. The little green man. Huh. And I say that because I don't fully understand his ability. I know Ruben plays him in Premiere, so he'll probably be able to better explain it to us. I mean, he's good. He comes out late at 7, which, I mean, most times you'll see, and he's really good because when he comes out, he does that big defeat. I think he's a solid B. I want to hear what everybody else has to say. Jonathan?
I'm with you, not having played him much, but the fact that it says whenever any unit, or if a unit, it doesn't have to be friendly, left play, means in Twin Suns, you're going to have one or two more opponents throwing down units, and if you're not involved, you can still benefit off of other people trading. So I honestly might bump him to A, if not just put it directly above Nute.
Chris?
I would put him at A. I agree with what Jonathan said about his action ability before he flips. There's always going to be a unit that's being taken off the board. That's always going to let you be able to use your action. You're always going to be able to control your deck. Look at your card, decide where you want to put it, where it's going. That's really important in Twin Suns. Well, it's always important, but in my opinion, really important in Twin Suns when you've got multiple opponents. You really need, the game is changing. You need to figure out what you're doing. Well, not again, but the only reason I wouldn't put him at S is because of his 7 cost to flip.
Makes sense. Ruben?
Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. Jonathan said it right at the beginning. I would say after turn 1, you're going to be using the ability at least once every turn. It's going to be a shoe-in because people are going to be taking units out. Boom, boom, boom. But the thing is that's important. You're drawing cards, right? But you're also filtering out what you don't need. You're putting at the bottom or on the top of your deck, like, okay, I need this. I can use this for later. Maybe I have a combo in my hand. I can do this. But yeah, I just think his ability is so relevant. And I think 7 resources is at the top where games typically will end at, but I guarantee you 6 or 7 is very doable, and it happens more times than not. But restore 2 when he flips, again, it's another one of those game changers, and whenever he flips, you can literally choose a card from the top of your deck that you already used with his ability before to defeat a unit. But it also is 4/9 and restore 2. And again, put a lightsaber on it. It's game over unless someone's got a way to shut him down. And I'm gonna say high A for me at this point, because of just that 7. But I think if he does flip in your game, you are more than likely going to be winning or coming back and not losing. Let's put it that way.
I agree.
Steve?
I was teetering on high B, but I think Ruben just sold me on A. I think he's probably A.
I can
The
be
restore
convinced.
2 is it can be pretty huge.
Yeah. All right. I think he's a solid A. I think for a similar reason, Dooku's an A because when he comes out, he's a very big threat, as we've seen with Jonathan before. Like, you can pretty much get units out for free. He's also very strong. You're constantly able to exploit, especially since Separatist is a very wide tag. You can get a lot of different Separatist units. I think he's just a solid A. I think he performs well on his own, but he performs even better when paired up with a Separatist. Jonathan?
Yeah, you definitely. If you're playing Dooku, I feel like your second hero is supporting. You can't have another powerhouse kind of sorry. You would never have like Dooku Nalase where you're having 2 clashing ideas. Dooku is definitely I'm playing Separatist and I'm looking to exploit. And while I think that does narrow you a bit, I'd still keep him in A because Separatist just has so many available units to you. And being able to, it can maintain a board or combo into one, drop big units out of nowhere.
I agree with that. I just think you have to make sure that you're sticking with the Separatist theme there. If you stray too far from that, then his ability is not going to be as useful, and that could wind up costing you.
Ruben?
Yeah, I don't think, to me I would say high B, not A, because yes, again, he's got 7 when he flips. Again, the Separatist is limiting on that part. Like if my leader has 7 and I want him to not be limited when he gets flipped, the Separatist card you play this phase gains exploit 3 when you attack with him is fantastic. But again, the thing is about with him is I really like his ability. But the only thing that makes me nervous is what if you don't have these cards in your hand, and if you're at 7 resources, it's towards the end of the game for you. But if you do flip him, he's got overwhelmed. That's great. But I don't know if I'm not 100% loving it. But I think for me it would be more yeah, maybe high B, but definitely if we had to choose, him being next to Yoda just doesn't seem right to me. So I would say high B, but if we were choosing A, I would probably low A.
I agree with that a lot too. When I think of like an overall A card or an overall S card, like I'm thinking like something that can work with anything. Like you can put Yoda into any blue white. You can put Obi-Wan into any blue white. He works with any of them. Count Dooku, you got to build a separatist deck. Like it's just so limiting. And he is very good in the separatist deck, but the fact that I can't just play him in anything for me really takes him down.
That makes sense.
I'd say B
Yeah.
for me.
I think because of the limit, that makes sense for high B. Yeah. I think the 2/2 is cool, but I think there's just so many easy ways to shut down units with exhaust, defeating. I mean, it's also only for the phase. Like, I feel like there's just so many ways to counter that. And I'm not saying that he's awful. Like, I don't think he deserves Y, but I think Wat is very specific, and there's just better ways to get what he does, and there's just easy ways to counter him. Jonathan?
Yeah, I'm trying to think when that 2 toughness would matter.
If you're running droids
Because
with Sentinel, but
yeah, that's true. But even then, I'm still kind of struggling to make an argument for him. I think it's more general than Nala say, so there might be an argument to put him just above her. But as of right now, I might not have played enough of him, but I'm good keeping him in C, even though he is on the cheaper side to flip.
Chris?
I agree with Jonathan on we've made these cases on things being limiting and general. So I'm not sure where I want to stick him, but I completely agree that I think his ability, whenever I think about adding time specific, +2/+2 to something, it's just too slow. That gives your opponents, and in Twin Suns, you have multiple opponents that can either exhaust it or take it out, or they just have, there's so much time to react to that it is very limiting to his ability and makes it not as useful. So I'm fine with him being at C.
Ruben?
Yeah, I mean, Chris, you nailed it. The biggest thing here is that you choreograph what you're doing, right? They know that you just gave this unit +2/+2 for this phase, right? So it kind of gives information to your opponent of what's happening here. I would have loved it if Watt was 4. If you could flip him at 4. Because at 5, at 3/6, I don't think that is that great. There are better units out there, just units at that cost. So I would agree. I would say C for me. I don't love it.
I love Watt. I was gonna put him in A. I just
Ooh.
love Watt. I've played a clone. It was Nalase and Watt, and basically it was just killing clones and then buffing clones. Like I know his +2/+2 is kind of telegraphed. Like you see it coming a mile away, but I like who cares? Like I'm swinging. Like I just got a +2/+. I don't know. I really like Watt. He's cheap. He's a 5-cost flip. You're gonna flip him, and he's got a huge butt. He's gonna survive at least one swing. So I kind of like Watt a lot, and he's very generalized. You can slot him in anywhere. But I mean, I see y'all's points too. I really like Watt.
This next one's gonna hurt me. That hurt. Actually, dude.
A spoiler. Is this Mandalorian?
No, it's Rex.
This is Rex.
Okay, I could hardly. Okay, it's the showcase.
Brother,
Alright.
I haven't zoomed into 250%.
Did I say Mandalorian? Wait.
Yes.
I saw a helmet and I was like, okay.
I think he's a C. He might even be a D. For a 2 cost, look, this is my favorite Premier deck because I have it very specifically played and it's very funny. For a 2 cost, you can get so many things that are better than clone troopers. There's so many easy ways to counter just a swarm deck of just clone troopers, like clear the field. I've had that break my heart so many times. He comes out at 5, sure. He's a 2/6, that's fine. He creates 1 clone trooper, when he gets deployed. Gives +1 to health to troopers, which is great, but when you're talking about twin suns, that's not as helpful because you can only run 1 of each, and some troopers are great, some are absolutely awful. And not everything that should be a trooper is a trooper. Looking at you, clone deserter. Um, but yeah, I think Rex might be a C, if not a D, because for 2 costs to create a 2/2 token, it's very meh. Jonathan?
Yeah, and there's that criteria, like if you could use it to stall or hold onto cards for a later turn, that'd be great. But you also have to have a unit that has attacked this turn.
Yeah, and I forgot about the worst part to mention. Yeah, exactly. You have to have had a friendly unit attack. You don't just get to create a token, so it's even more situational. Sorry, Jonathan, go ahead.
No, yeah, because like again, turn 1 play, this, you know, lets you hold on to all your cards and see what other people are doing if you didn't have to attack. Um, I I think I'd keep him in low C, but like you said, could see him teetering down.
Chris?
Maybe he belongs in C, but I mean, there are situations where he can help clone units, trooper units. Are these trooper units? Let me make sure I'm. Yes, they are. Become such a huge problem. I mean, if you've got Echo on the board, clone Commander Cody, I mean, he can just. Everything becomes the perfect storm in that instance. So, I mean, yes, perfect definition of meme time, baby. But I just in certain situations, I don't know if he's the low C. You know what I'm saying? In certain situations, he's better than Wat Tambor. It's so I'd say we can leave him in C, but it's debatable for me whether he's all the way on the low end of that spectrum.
Ruben?
Yeah, man, Chris, I'm feeling. I think Rex could get some work done. Um, I like him more than Watt. And I like the fact that okay, let's just say it depends on what the game state is going on. Putting units on the board is a big deal because eventually they need to be answered. Yeah, he is a 5 and he flips, he gets a 2/6, but all your guys get buff. You get a token when you flip them, and I don't know. I think he could get some strength, especially when you start bringing out other support like Chris was saying. I think for me, high C, very low B, but I think he is at 5 for 2/6, and he has a blanket effect on your whole board that makes him harder to kill. It's a big deal, especially when someone is trying to drop cards like an equalize on you that would normally take them out, but in this case it wouldn't. So I really like Rex, and I would say for me, high C, low B for me.
Yeah, he belongs in the meme time, babies. This is the meme time, baby. Like I think when we created this tier, I don't know. I had Rex in mind.
Yeah.
Like that was the meme. Um, I like Watt better than him, but that's just me.
Let's keep him in C for now. That did hurt me to do a little bit. I think Padme's bad. The fact that her ability not only costs 1 but also requires coordinate, and it lets you search for Republic cards, like that's neat. Very specific. I think it'll be a little bit better in JTL when you need to search for cards a little bit more, but it's too many. You must have this, you must have that, and then do this. It's too many things. It's not general enough. And she's extremely weak as a leader. She's what, a 2/5, 2/6?
7.
Okay.
2/7 with restore 1.
Still. I'm gonna start her in D, and let's hear y'all try to climb her out. Jonathan?
Yeah, I trying to make some parallels. Like in a similar vein where Yoda can help you search through your deck, she has the ability to do that. But like you said, you need that coordinate keyword to be active. So trying to get that, you might be able to get it on turn 2. If you have like a 2 1-drops and then a 1, 2, or 3, or a 2-drop into a 1 and a 2-drop. But then you still have to pay that 1 cost. So ideally, it would be a 2 1s, a 1 or a 2-drop, and then you can start using her ability.
In a perfect world.
So I'd keep her in wide just because I don't see a scenario yet, although I haven't tried building around her.
Chris?
I don't know if I like her in D. I might move her to C. I like the fact, yes, it does cost on her horizontal side, but when you flip her, it's free. You don't have an option. You have to search, which is annoying. But that gives you, card search, and sometimes that really helps, getting as long as you build for Republic, which is important. That can give you a card that you really need. I do like her stats, 2/7, as a 5 flip. And that restore 1 can really come in handy. Having that 7 butt that can help her stay out much longer. The restore 1 is really helpful. So those are the reasons why I would move her up to a C instead of a D. So I think she can be useful in certain situations.
Ruben?
Yeah, I align with Chris on this. I would say more C than D, because yeah, the limitation of getting the Republic card is a deal, but a 2/7 at 5 and she has restore 1 is pretty good. Especially if you can keep that coordinate, which allows you to search the top 3 cards of your deck, find a Republic card, and draw it. If you have that trigger and it's going, so you're going to try to run cards in your deck that's going to allow you to make, use this effectively. So drawing cards is big. So I would say C for me.
For me, this is why. Why do I have to pay 1 to tap her and search the top 3? Why does it have to be a Republic? Why do I have to also have coordinate? Why is it when I flip her, I still have to have coordinate? Why? Just why?
Well, it sounds like we're pretty much split down the middle on that one. We will reevaluate at the end if that's okay with everyone. Sounds like she's low C, high D. I think Maul is A. He just plugs and plays well, get overwhelmed. He's a very big threat when he comes out on the board, especially if you give him a fallen lightsaber. I think he's a solid A below Yoda. Jonathan?
Yeah, he was my go-to for Premiere, so I played a lot, and ramping into him felt really good. It's a little harder to do that in Twin Suns, but just the non-restrictive give a keyword to somebody, and then on the flip give your entire board a blanket keyword. I'd keep him at A, and probably under Yoda just because he's a little easier to get rid of on the flip. And people need to get rid of him.
I would agree with that. I think when he flips and gives all of your friendly units overwhelm, I think that's an amazing utility there. But I also agree that he's easier to get rid of with just a 6 butt, which is not, small, but it's manageable.
Ruben?
Yeah, I like Maul a lot. I don't use him in Twin Suns, but there's no limitations, right? And that's one of the biggest things that we talk about is that you can attack with a unit, it gains overwhelm. It doesn't say you have anything that says, okay, attack with this unit, you have to attack this unit or whatever. It's not limiting on that. So, and 6, and it's a 6/6, and it has overwhelm, and again that blanket effect of overwhelm is huge. Each other friendly unit gains it. I mean, put a lightsaber on this guy, and it's gonna be tough. This is a leader that you build your deck around. This is a leader that you like. Okay, if I'm gonna build a deck, I'm gonna start with Maul. Okay, boom, and then I'll start working and add my support leader, if you will. But yeah, definitely stands alone. I would say A for me as well.
Steve?
Yeah, I 100% agree with all of that. He's plug and play. He's a big threat. He's fun. I think he's A. Yeah, I love everything about him.
He's just a solid dude. Until it is cheaper to draw cards, I think this is bad. It's very expensive to draw cards. Like red is Mission Briefing, Shadow Collective Camp. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Like you can't draw cards while dealing damage and getting a board state to do things. Like I just do not think Pre-Vizsla is good. And I can't even put him in meme because there's not enough Mandalorians to make a themology even in villain. There's enough barely to make heroes work, but there's not enough for villains right now. I think he's bad. Jonathan?
I'm trying to think if his flip side bumps him up one. Because if you have 6 or more cards in your hand, has the stats of Maul for 1 cheaper, and also gains Saboteur, so he can go around Sentinel units instead of going through them. So comparable in that regard. But with the singleton format, I also feel like it's just harder. Or even, I guess, on his starting side, if you could count the 2 cards that you drew in the regroup phase, I think that would skyrocket him up. Just having 2 in the chamber constantly. But without that, I'd keep him in Y.
Yeah, because I think we've had that debate before. I think that does not count. The regroup phase does not count.
No, it says it on the leader too. It says this doesn't include cards drawn in the regroup phase.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yep.
Chris?
Yeah, he belongs in Y. Like you were saying, Cole. It's incredibly expensive to draw cards, and then when he's on his horizontal side, and you have to pay just to use his action. So you've spent 3-4 resources to draw cards, and then you have to pay to deal damage to a unit equal to the number of cards you've drawn. Like you're not going to be able to draw cards and then also play a unit. Yeah, he gets better on his flip side, but in order to have those 6 or more cards in your hand, you've spent so many resources drawing cards that you haven't been able to play units, which then decrease your hand size. It just it's it's no. Why?
I'm gonna just say, Chris, I love that you were laughing and then you're explaining why it was bad. That was the best part of it for me. So I'm gonna stick with why because I agree with everything you said on that. I loved it.
Nah, he's right where he needs to be. At least Padme has a plan. It's not a good one, but she has a plan.
Right.
Pre-Vizsla is just why.
Yeah. All right. I think Snips is a solid B. I think she's decent plug and play. You're still relying on coordinate, but your action is free. You're getting some more damage. Actually, she might. No, yeah, I feel pretty good putting her between Dooku and Nute for right now. Maybe she's a little bit above Dooku, just because she's easier to plug and play. She's got good tags. She's pretty easy to use. Like she does rely on coordinate, but it's not like too impossible to get off. And then when she comes out, she's useful. Jonathan?
I feel like I've played so much of the exploit that I just see it as a better keyword, but that's just I guess familiarity. So for me, I think should be below Newt, but I'm trying to, yeah. Stat wise, right? It's almost Maul if she has coordinate,
Mhm.
but that didn't mean much for Vizsla. So like even going off of that for me, it's tough to like nail a spot for me at least.
Chris?
I like that she's 5 costs, so you can get her out before a lot of other units in a Twin Suns game. I do think that coordinate is harder to keep in a Twin Suns game. You've got 3 other opponents, and for a leader like Ahsoka, everyone knows that you need to have coordinate up. So they're going to purposely be trying to take out your units. So I think that hurts Ahsoka, and I don't exactly know where to put her because of that. I would put her on the lower end of B, to be quite honest, just because I think it's harder to keep coordinate up specifically for a leader like Ahsoka. She has to be aggressive. She has to have that coordinate in order to get to 5-6. And I think that your opponents are going to purposely make sure that you don't have coordinate up.
Ruben, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna say C for me, and because of the
Oh,
main
C.
reason is that coordinate is a lot harder to maintain in Twin Suns than in Premier, because you're gonna have 2 to 3 folks basically trying to take out your units as well, and you have to have coordinate to get the attack with a unit ability, right? So it's
Yeah.
kind of great, and then coordinate when you flip her at 5, yeah, she's great at 3-6, but again, you have to get that limitation for coordinate. I'm not loving it. You might as well just take that coordinate off, and I'm not loving. I would say C for me, and that's an easy C.
Steve?
I was gonna put her at the end of B, but yeah, for everything Ruben said, but maybe C is where she belongs. I definitely think Wat Tambor is better than her, but that's just me.
Man is not gonna let that one die. He's like, actually, guys,
every
Wat Tambor is like,
leader.
he's like really good.
You know,
I'm
Obi Wan
done
is S,
with
but
deck.
Wat
Next.
Tambor should be next.
And the reason I put him there is because that's similar to where we put Sabine, and I think he is similar in his abilities to Sabine. Maybe he's high B, just because he's not as quick as Sabine, and he does have to do a little bit more damage to himself. But I think Anakin is a solid A. Like, he's such a threat to flip out. If you bravado this man, he comes back with a vengeance. Like, he's just the chosen one. I think he's a big threat when he comes out. You're going to see him at 6. It also discourages people from hitting your base too much, but if they do hit your base too much, you can come out and just get back at them. I would be really curious to see like an aggro Sabine him blue deck. I'd be fascinated to see that. Jonathan?
See, honestly, I'd bump him above Yoda.
Dang, okay.
Whoa, whoa,
Um,
whoa, easy.
Yeah,
I
Ruben's like,
know.
I don't know
Hey,
about all that cowboy.
see, I'm a sucker for the bad guys, and even though he's villainy, we all know that story. Um, but just people have to kind of jump from, okay, I can't do. If people are trying to balance out health across everybody or damage across all bases, you benefit from that.
Yeah.
And if somebody focuses you because they know that's coming, other people might be like, okay, do I jump on this and take this, take Anakin out? Am I in a position where I would then benefit from that? And with the next set coming out, we have bases that are above 30 health. So you could buffer yourself a bit more there as well. We're like, okay, I don't mind getting up towards the 20s and still feel comfortable at 25. It'd still be iffy, but I feel like it could dissuade people from. It either makes people target you fully or have to play very carefully around balancing health.
Yeah, that makes sense. Chris?
I'm fully on board with what Jonathan said. I would put him above Yoda, maybe even in S under
Whoa,
Obi.
whoa.
I think if you play Anakin right in Twin Suns, if everyone's trying to balance the board, I think, especially once someone takes out one of the bases and you're in that, end zone there, I think if you flip him out and you've got, so much damage on your base that he's at 8-7, you throw a lightsaber on him, you can, whop for 11 damage, then you use a bravado. Bam, you've just done 22 damage to someone's base. I think he can be an amazing leader unit in Twin Suns if he's played right.
All right, Ruben.
Well, again,
Slander.
I like no.
Lies.
Anakin's good. Again, it's the biggest part I always look at is the flip side first, because if I flip him at 6, he's a Force 7, which is base, which is what we look for 6 costs, right? But you get the overwhelm ability, which is fantastic, and then he gets the buff for all the damage, or for every 5 damage you get that +1/+0. So yeah, by the time you flip him, you could have 20 damage on your base, if not more, and then it gets a lot stronger. Great, I love that. But there's a lot of things that need to happen for this to be really, really good, right? So you're expecting your opponent to hit you in the face, right? But you're the fact that you're putting damage on yourself at the very beginning of the game could be a detriment to your plan, because you're at 20 damage. Great. All right. Well, you haven't flipped over Anakin yet. Maybe we put you at a part where you're lethal or very close to lethal. You flipped over Anakin, and when you flip over, the board state hasn't changed. You just got a big buffier guy. I don't think he changes the game when he lands, right? So I believe that I agree with what Jonathan and Chris has said, but I don't think he is better than a Maul that when he comes under the board state at that power, or Yoda when he comes at that power. I would say yes, but not stronger than them, because damaging your base at the beginning of the game is going to be detrimental to you at the beginning, and then when it gets to the late game, yeah, you may flip them, but it might be too late for you. That's just me.
Very true. Steve.
Yeah, I feel like Maul is the end of A. Like Maul is kind of like the bottom of what I feel like an A is, and I don't think that Anakin is as good as Maul. So I would actually put him at like a high B for me personally. I don't like the idea of putting myself in a situation where I'm very easily able to be taken out, because Anakin's big and he can hit really hard, but he's still a unit and he still can be defeated. And if he's defeated, you're just left with a really, really damaged base with no benefit. So I don't like him for that reason.
This is true. We can reevaluate at the end of the list. I think we should keep him at low A right now, but I can see your logic for B. All right. I think Windu's slightly better than Vizsla, but not as good as Padme. His action is interesting. I think it's very situational. I don't think it's really worth the 1 point when he can do so much else with that. He's a 7 flip, right? So he's late game
Yeah.
flip. He's Jedi Republic Force, which is good, but I don't think he's great. Jonathan.
The only thing I'd add is I feel like he can be a bargaining chip if somebody does have a big unit down and you might not have units on your board. If if other people can add that 5 damage, you're like, okay, if you can get this damage down, I can either take out a 7 cost unit, or they have a shield for a 6 cost or 6 toughness, still be able to defeat it. But I agree where that's a lot more situational than is really helpful. His flip is very impactful, where he deals 2 damage to each damaged enemy unit. But like you said, at 7 cost, I don't see it being as useful as Padme being able to search through your deck.
Chris?
So yeah, I'm always with Mace. I'm very on the fence. I definitely don't think he's way high up, but not sure if he's quite a D. I think there's some utility in his ability. I wish that it didn't cost one for you to have to use his action. But if there's definitely some utility there, and like Jonathan was saying, bargaining chip there to deal 1 damage or 2 damage if it has more than 5 already on it to a damaged unit. So there's utility there. But again, like Jonathan said, it can be a game changer when he deploys to do 2 damage to each damaged enemy unit. I mean, that can affect the entire board state and really, change things up. But he is a 7 cost. He does have good stats with, 5/8, but he's not an amazing unit. I'm just not sure if he's the worst of the worst. Leave him at D. Not sure if he's. Yeah, I'm good with where he's at. Just, I think he is useful in certain situations.
Ruben?
I would say C for me because yeah, it's a 7 cost. When you flip him, he does have to pay 1 when you deal 1 damage to a damaged unit. But guess what? Indirect damage is coming, and with JTL, it's gonna change the
True.
way the game looks on the board state. When someone does indirect damage, they'll look across and see Mace and like, ooh, if I put it on this unit, he could kill it. If I put it on this one, he could probably kill it too. But I just think that Mace with the indirect damage possibility, or when you can do indirect damage, it kind of changes the way Mace is looked. And yes, getting the 7 resources is a big deal, but when he flips, he impacts the board. People are going to get hit. If indirect damage is out there and someone's getting pinged all these different times, he's going to basically just wipe out a lot of low level units quite easily. And he's a 5/8, and like again, we like our upgrades and stuff. So I think he's got a lot better with JTL with the indirect damage than he was if that wasn't part of the mechanic. So for me, I would say C. I think C was Ahsoka is at the top of C. I, he's
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
C is
he's
a mess.
yeah, I think C he's better than Ahsoka, honestly.
Steve?
Yeah, I agree with that. He's better than Ahsoka. I mean, his ability is relevant. Not great that you have to pay 1 for it. His ability to flip is relevant. It's not great that it's 7 resources, but he does have relevant tags. I don't think he's anywhere near the league that Anakin's in, but I think he's definitely better than Ahsoka. Not as good as Wat Tambor, but
Not as good as what? Who can be? Um, Asajj Ventress. The only problem I have with her is you're just going to be discarding a lot of your hand, which is what Steve ran into. Like you're not going to have a lot in your hand to work with, and it's also very situational for aggro. I think, because like she's not awful, but like she's maybe there. Jonathan, what are your thoughts? Because like you play the event, and if when you attack, if you've played an event this turn, the unit you attack with gets a +1 buff.
See, I think the +1 isn't the main reason you'd play her. It's dealing combat damage before the defender, so you can keep your unit alive. And in Premiere, I think this is an amazing ability. In Twin Suns, it kind of keeps you the main target, or kind of lets people pivot you to becoming the main target. Because usually when you trade units, you can tell people, hey, I did us both a favor, or I did us all a favor. You know, I cleared out a Sentinel, or I got rid of a big threat, and I traded a unit for it. Whereas with Asajj, you're like, okay, I opened the door, but I now still have all my units on in play.
Chris?
I think I would actually put her in D. For Twin Sons, I agree with Jonathan. Her on attack is, I mean, her action is not really why you play her. It's going to be on her flip side, her on attack. And I just don't, yes, she flips at 4, but she's only a 3/4, which is fine, I suppose, for 4 and with her on attack. But I think when you've got 3 opponents, that no one's really going to let her stick around that long and keep using her on attack to take out the other units. I think she'll be a quick target to be taken off the board. So I just don't think she's a very feasible leader unit to be used in Twin Sons.
Ruben?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, 3, 4 for 4. You flip. It's basically going to be lights out. You have to play Vent to make her stronger on the attack. No, I'm not loving it. I would say D, and she is not better than Padme. I would say she's behind. She's probably behind. Yeah, I would say at the end of D.
Wow. You'd put Pre Vizsla above Asajj? I
He
was I
will
was me
he will survive longer than she will.
yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
4/6 at 5. She's a 3/4 at 4. So yeah.
So we think
You
top
know,
of
I don't
D?
know.
Or
I definitely think D is the right call. I was just gonna for me, I was gonna put her above Padme, but um I just think that the fact that she comes down a little earlier, she does do the first strike damage. I played her last week, and I did find that I was running out of events or out of cards quickly because you have to play events to make her or +1 happen. I don't think she's very good. I definitely think D is where she belongs, but for me, I put her high D.
yeah, well, we'll evaluate all the tiers at the end. Grievous. I think he's good. Actually, I think he is slightly better than Nute because Droid is a much more varied package than Separatist, and I think being able just to sentinel any droid, like I don't know, IG-88 for example, that or IG-86, 88, IG-12. Oh, I'm such a bad person right now.
IG-11.
IG-11. Thank you. Um, yeah, I think he's just good. Jonathan.
I honestly would probably bump him above Dooku as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, with the droids being a little easier than separatists, you're giving them a sentinel, which we talked about a couple times being a great keyword. And even though it's not going to be super likely, you could run Grievous's bike with him, which is
Mm-hmm.
just a wild upgrade. And it would make him a monster.
I like him at the top of B. I think that Sentinel is a really important ability in Twin Sons. On his regular side, when you use it as an action, I think basically the only drawback to this is that they only get Sentinel for the phase. So you could be left open for, to get struck by your opponents for that one round. But otherwise, when you've got Sentinel up, a lot of times your opponents will not swing at you, especially if you've got that Sentinel up on a big unit there. So I think that really adds a lot of utility to him as a leader unit.
Ruben.
Yeah, I really like Grievous, and I like the combination with Grievous and Dooku. For me, I really like that. The only thing that limits how awesome Grievous is the fact that it's a droid unit, which naturally it's thematic. It makes sense, right? It's perfect sense. But man, at 6, he's a 4/8. That's big time, right? So I really like that. I think he could be a finisher as well. I would say high B, like we have it now, or maybe at the cusp of A, but I really like Grievous's ability. Sentinel is so huge in Twin Suns, so I really really like his ability because Sentinel is definitely gonna keep people from hitting you in the face. So for me, I'm happy with where it's at. B, IB.
Steve?
I'm also happy where it's at. Sentinel's huge. I wish he was. Wish he was just. I mean, I wish he could give any unit Sentinel, then he'd be S tier. But the fact that it's only droids, kind of keeps him where he is.
I think Django's solid B. Maybe A, but I want to hear what you guys have to think. I think the exhaust is really, really good, and I think you're gonna see it a lot more often in Twin Suns. And I think that he can be very well paired up, and he's the yellow black, which is a really good package. And you can get like triple dark raid, Fett's fire spray. You can get like the elite bomber, all sorts of good things. Jonathan?
I would bump him up to A just because the criteria for tapping a unit is you just have to deal one damage to a unit. Yes, it has to come from one of your units. It can't be a card, like a grenade strike or something. But there's plenty of units that have those triggers, and being able to just be like, okay, you have a big threat. If claim initiative now, I can just deal with it with the first card I play, saving potentially everyone around.
I agree. I would have him at A. I think his ability is super useful. It's a good bargaining chip. Also, it can pair up well with other leaders. It can really wreak havoc when you're, in the end zone there, and you've only got, one round to go, and someone thinks that they're going to win the game. you tap down that, exhaust that unit, and guess what? They're not winning. So I would definitely keep him at A.
Ruben?
A little lower for me. Yeah, I like Django's ability where he can, manipulate the board state, but I don't know. I don't think. Yeah, you're just delaying the inevitable. If it gets to that point where you're trying to just like tap them down for this one turn, but it's the best part about this is what makes it kind of. I guess I could possibly be swayed to the A because when he does flip, he's 3/7, and it's always on,
Mm-hmm.
which is a lot better than just having to exhaust him on his side. So 3/7 is nothing too crazy, but 5 for 3/7 is pretty good. I would say low A, high B, but it's kind of I'm still kind of torn about that because I'm not I like the exhausting units, but it's kind of tough for me on that one. So I would say I'm okay with where it's at, but definitely higher B for me than maybe A because I think he's not a true game changer. He's a game stabilizer, but not a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
Man, for me, he's A. He's top of A. I think he's better than Yoda, and that's only with these three sets in mind. Once JTL comes out, he's S tier for me. He's above Obi-Wan. I mean, there are so many cards now that they're going to introduce that. I mean, the IG 2000 card can tap 3 units when it comes in with Jango's out. They released a tank just the other day that when it enters play, it does 1 damage to every enemy unit. If Jango's out, that literally taps every unit on the board, and you have free reign to attack anybody you want. I think that his tapping ability can be used politically. I think you can say, I might tap that guy down for you, or I can. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry, table. I'll take care of that big threat. I'll tap it down for the turn. He's almost like a Yoda, Baby Yoda. We all saw how good Baby Yoda or Grogu was. In tapping big threats down and keeping them tapped down. Well, he's basically a Grogu that sits in your leader zone, and all he requires is that you do 1 damage with a unit, which There are so many ways to do that. So for me, he's A, and if we're keeping set 4 in mind, he's S.
That makes sense. Few
I
more.
mean, I like the argument on there.
Yeah, it makes
Sorry,
sense to
Cole.
me.
I like the argument on that. I do like that only when it's on his flip side where he's got the most impact. But yeah, I can be swayed in the A more because of that argument, but I'm not ready for S yet. Come at me.
Oh, and indirect damage.
Oh, I know. I'm just telling you. So that just makes you a huge target too. It's okay to play the politics, but you gotta sell it to everybody and be like, oh, why is this guy tapping 2 of our opponents down? I don't know. I can be okay with A.
Let's go on to Quinlan. I would say Quinlan's bottom of B. He's really good in Premiere because you're able to perfectly line it and you're able to use Tarkintown. I don't think you should play Tarkintown in Twin Suns. That's just my personal opinion. And I also think that I don't think he's a game changer. I think he's good, and I think that late game, especially if he's out, he's helpful, but he's kind of easy to cut down mid game. So I'd say bottom of B. Jonathan?
Yeah, I feel like I really don't have an idea with Quinlan. I looking at it right now, for me, there's possibilities he could be in A, but I could even see him being in C if you just nothing lines up for you.
Chris?
I would put him in C, I think. Pinging for one, before he flips, when you've got 3 opponents, you're only going to be able to use it once, so that kind of cuts down on the usefulness of that. And it has to be the exact same cost. Then when he flips, you can use that anytime that you play a unit, so you could use that multiple times, but we've also discussed in the past, how much you're going to peeve your opponents off when you're pinging them nonstop. So I think he's just not a great unit, a leader unit to use in Twin Suns.
Ruben?
Yeah, he's a support leader for me in this. There's the limitations, right? When you play a unit, you may deal 1 damage to enemy unit, right? I get that, but it's the limitations for it for me. 3/7 is okay for 5, but I don't think he is going to do too much to the board state. Like I said, just piss people off. Ping here, ping there. You're gonna get tired of getting pinged. So for me, I would say he's C for me.
Steve?
That's easy for me as well. I almost think Ahsoka might actually be better than he is. I'd almost rather play Ahsoka than him because at least she can do something. She just has to have coordinate. He just never does anything.
So,
I
sorry, Jonathan.
apologies. No, before moving on, I am curious though. If you paired him, no, but you can't. I was gonna say with Jango, but one's a hero, one's a villain.
Stay tuned for Chaos Draft.
That's right.
Because
So-
yeah.
The last one is Palpatine / Sidious. I assume we're gonna have to pair them together, right? Wherever one of them ends up, the other one, because they're just stuck on the other side.
Yeah, it's all one
Yeah.
card.
I think he's here, and the reason I say that is because I've tried to build this deck and I brick myself because I either don't have enough villain cards or I have too many villain cards, and I can't get the order to play perfectly. But that's a user error. I think it has very good potential because you're healing and damaging constantly and creating tokens and drawing cards. So actually, it might just be a user error. Maybe he is a Jonathan.
Yeah, I have never played with him, so in theory, I feel like he definitely is A, just because while you have to pair him with a hero since he starts off on the heroism side, you do get access to the villainy.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of acts as like a fifth aspect once you get that first flip, and you will be alternating back and forth, but the ability to not only heal your base, but on the flip, create a unit and ping everyone's base seems, like you said, if piloted well, can be very oppressing. But having never done it myself, I'm not having a good grasp on where exactly to put them.
Chris?
Yeah, I think Steve's going to be the expert here on where he should really go. I say B because I feel like he would be fun to play. I haven't played him because I'm with you. I always wind up putting too many cards in a deck anyhow, and then have to cut down dramatically. So I never wanted to deal with having to deal with an even bigger card pool, combining villainy and heroism. So no, not anything I ever wanted to have to deal with. So I feel like he would be fun, but you already have a bigger card pool anyhow when you're playing Twin Suns, and then adding heroism and villainy. No, just not anything I ever want to do.
Ruben?
A, possibly S. I'm gonna tell you why. I love Palpatine. When I was running him, I was running him with Yoda, and the fact that you could have blue villainy and blue heroism in the same deck is bonkers. There is a high skill, set to kind of play Palpatine and timing. It's all about the timing. It's like, when are you gonna do this? It's enhanced even more when you're playing Twin Suns, right? So for me, he is definitely a game changer because this Palpatine was built for Twin Suns.
Mm-hmm.
2 damage from you're gonna deal 2 damage to every enemy base. That's huge. Um, I think Palpatine allows you to have the packages of the best of the yellow and the best of the blue. Um, I really like Palpatine. I think he's such a strong leader in Twin Suns. Like you said, if he piloted correctly, but it's definitely there's definitely a skill with trying to pilot it, and especially when you're trying to time everything to when to flip and when not to flip.
Yeah, everything Ruben said. I was gonna say S tier for me, just because this does something that no other leader does, and that it gives you aspect to both heroism and villainy side. You can ambush your villainy units with Finnick. You can play your villainy units cheaper with Young Han. Like, it just opens the door to so many different uh things that you never have access to with the other things. You'd have to pay 2 more for everything. So, and really, like, yeah, if you're piloting it, it is a little difficult, but if you think about it, just flip your palp once and just leave him. You can
Yeah.
just leave him on the dark side. If you're concerned with min-maxing, like playing him the best, just flip him once. Then have access to both sides all the time, and you don't. I mean, you're not getting as much value that way, but you know what I'm saying. Like, I feel like he is awesome, and he is everything I want in a leader because he gives me so many options.
Awesome.
Well said, Steve.
I agree. Let's
Thanks, Dad.
review. I think S. Everybody here belongs in S. Does anyone think any of these A's should be moved up or down?
Can we get Wat Tambor and A's?
I'm hearing crickets. Anyone else?
Nah.
No. Okay.
No,
I feel like that's
You know what, Steve? I'm just jerking your jimmies. You know what? I'll give you that.
Thank you.
So is A good,
I mean,
everybody?
yeah,
I think
yeah.
Yoda really is at the top because it's every unit, then Jango, Maul, and Anakin, because Anakin does affect the board with having a giant unit out. But we can.
But at what cost?
Yeah, and he can be cut down easily. B. Does anyone think anyone should be moved up or down? I do not think so.
No,
I think we
like
nailed
Grievous
that.
where he's at. Yeah.
All right, this is the Wookiee row. Okay.
This is where the
I think
where
Rex
the battles
really
are
should
fought.
be at the end, in all seriousness, because all he's doing is creating a 2/2, and he's cool, and he's my favorite premier deck.
No. I think he's better than Quinlan.
Okay, maybe he's better than Quinlan. Okay.
I could get behind
Maybe
that.
he's
Yeah.
better than Quinlan, but he has too many restrictions. I'll give you Wat is good, especially when paired up with Grievous, Dooku, or Nute. Ahsoka belongs
Or paired
here.
it with anybody.
Okay, let's not get carried away there, cowboy. Mace Windu, maybe he should be moved up because of the indirect damage discussion. Do we think he should be moved to B?
Let's see where
I think he's
Nala say
holding the
that.
C.
Nala says at the end
No,
of B.
Nala say not. Yeah. Let's see. I. I
He's 7 to
think.
flip, and you have to pay for his ability, and it's conditional.
Yeah, maybe he is top of C.
I mean, I'm okay with where he's at, but
Yeah,
we
yeah.
will
We'll
will
see.
revisit this
Yeah,
later.
we'll revisit this.
Mhm.
And then okay, we're good with C then.
Yeah, although I want to see Steve's villainy arc where he just plays nothing but Wat Tambor to bump him up
To
the
prove
ranks.
it.
Actually,
yeah.
I think Wat Tambor might be better than Ahsoka at this point.
Yeah, because he doesn't rely on the coordinate.
We're moving up. I like the direction we're
Steve
going.
was like, more. More.
I mean, if we stay on this podcast for another hour, Wat will be S tier. I'm saying.
True. All right, let's close it out at Y. I think Asajj on top. Vizsla is absolutely the worst. I think I feel good with this. Anybody else
The
think any
D, I
changes?
think Padme's
think
better than her.
you
Asajj.
do?
I'm not gonna, yeah.
What does everyone else think?
I like the restore.
actually-
I like the restore.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
restore's pretty
I agree
good,
with
and
that.
she's big.
Yeah.
Okay, I can get down to this. So we're good with this. This is the final tier list.
Yeah, that looks good to
All
me.
right,
I'm
guys,
happy
let us
with
know
it.
what you think below. Let us know what you think we messed up. Let us know what you think we did great. Well, we'll see you soon with some JTL coverage. Have a wonderful evening. Pet your animals, stay warm, and bye-bye now.